I'm Marisa Norcross.
And I'm Dave Freund, and this must be the next page.
Yes, it must. I like that.
It must. How are you, Marisa?
After 50 episodes, I think it must be the next page, yes.
It must be. So this is episode 50.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
We're 2 weeks away from an anniversary.
I know. Wow. I can't believe it. It was fast.
It really has gone fast. And this was one of the things that I said we would do, and we did.
Yes, it was something that you put on your vision board.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it was the first thing I think we accomplished that was on my vision board. So, but then we get to the things that I didn't do, which is why I wrote the blog post this week.
Tell us a little bit about what you wrote.
So I wrote, why didn't I do it? Because I'm realizing, when all of a sudden your mind begins to expand to opportunities and you see a lot of things that you'd love to do and things that you think have great meaning for yourself and might have value for others, you realize there's a lot of things I want to do. And then you have to do it. And there are just so many things that I'm realizing I didn't do. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong because I knew what was wrong. I just didn't want to admit it. And the answer was I didn't have self-discipline. So I thought rather than just ignore it, I needed to dive in and figure out what's going wrong. So I started looking into self-discipline. Mm-hmm. And I realized I didn't have it. But there was an interesting quote here that Mahatma Gandhi said, the difference between what we do and what we are capable of doing would suffice to solve most of the world's problems.
Right, because it's not for lack of ability or skill
right.
that things don't get done. It's typically something's getting in the way, right?
Right. We're choosing to do other things rather than what we should be doing. And it's like when we talk about the prioritization question that I get a lot of times, how do I prioritize my day? And I tell people that, the reason why the most important thing doesn't get done is because the second most important thing was easier.
Right. We talk about this in one of our episodes about eating the frog first, right?
Right. Yes. Go ahead, eat it. I dare you.
Yeah.
You got to eat the frog first, and you got to eat the ugliest frog first because the rest of the day's better. So, in my blog post, I think I gave like 4 reasons or 4 tactics that we could use to really become much better at being more self-disciplined. And the first one is to develop your why statement about the goal. So we, when we talk about goals, when we talk about things that we want to accomplish, do we really think through the why statement? Why is this important to us? And one of the things we need to realize when we're talking about why statements is, and I highly recommend Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, because he said, when you have a why statement that you can develop, it becomes not just a logical kind of decision. It's an emotional decision. It's a decision because all of our choices are made in the limbic portion of our brain, and that's where emotion is. So you really need to find out what's the why behind what we're going to try to do. Mm-hmm. And if you can articulate that, you don't have to worry about willpower because you have why power. And the other one that to me was like a duh thing that I don't know why it took me so long to figure this one out, but just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Nike had it right when they said, just do it. So you don't, and there was a great quote, and I'll probably get it wrong, that John Maxwell always said the difference between whiners and winners. He said, whiners wait till they feel like it to do it. Winners just do it so they feel like it. Mm-hmm. And that was really the key. And I know that, one of the challenges that I had was, there's a goal that I want to accomplish. And I simply had to schedule time each day to sit down and do it and work on it. And it's like John Maxwell used to say, he says, he gets a bunch of people that say they'd love to write a book. And he said, so what are you doing? Well, I'm just waiting, for inspiration. He goes, well, why don't you just start writing? Mm-hmm. And what he's said a lot of times, and he's written over 100 books, he said, the words flow when his pen hits the paper, but he has to take his pen in hand and start writing.
Right. Instead of waiting for that special moment where
exactly
the timing is right and the stars have aligned and everything's perfect. You really have to let go of that perfectionism and that, if you're waiting for a sign, this is your sign. Our podcast is your sign that it's time to just do it.
That's right, because there is no perfect time.
Right.
It's not going to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to realize that, because that really is key for us. So the next thing that I put on here was, find an accountability partner. And I know that when Randy first talked to me about writing these weekly posts that I send out, the big question was, can I discipline myself to do it? Well, once I committed to you that I was going to do it, you became my accountability partner. And, there were times when I'd have to say, okay, I got to get this done. I don't want to disappoint Marisa. I don't want her to think that I'm a slacker and not getting my work done. So that was part of it. And then the other one that I put in here was don't overpromise. And I found that one was interesting because, don't commit to yourself of doing something for the rest of the year. Commit to doing it today. So today I'm going to eat better. Today I'm going to exercise. Today I'm going to work on this project for 30 minutes. You can be true to yourself for a day, but if you just say, well, I'm going to do this over the next year, it's a lot easier to take a day off. And it's a lot easier to just give up on it because it's too long of a duration.
Right.
So those were the 4 things that I put in my original post. I know, Marisa, you and I have talked about this in the past about what things, we both strive for greater self-discipline. What are some things that you've found that help?
I'm no expert. This is something that I definitely struggle with. But I think definitely, letting go of the idea that it has to be perfect, accepting that like done is better than perfect. Progress is important, and, you should put that over perfectionism. Focusing on just really thinking about why, and maybe you have the wrong goals, right? So if you if you sit back and you can't determine that why, and have that why statement like you mentioned in the beginning, you certainly won't have the willpower to do it, and now you don't have the why power to do it. So maybe it's not something that you really want to do or should be doing, and can focus on something else. So I think that's really important. And I think something that a lot of us struggle with, myself included, that is important to try to take a hold of and control are the distractions in our lives and what's getting in the way of us accomplishing our goals. And some of them are really silly, right? Like getting sucked into our inboxes, or social media, or workplace drama, or at home, just busying yourself. I can't eat healthy because, I don't have time to do that. You're finding other things to do with your time. Just kind of identifying those things and figuring out a solution so that they aren't getting in the way. If you're spending too much time on social media, delete the apps off your phone. If you're spending too much time checking your emails, which is getting in the way of you accomplishing the things at work that you need to accomplish, only check your email twice a day. And I know you do that. You have, I think, in your email signature too. So it says, please note, I check my emails at this time of day. I've gotten auto responses from people saying, thanks for your message. I check my emails daily at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. I'll get back to you in those times. So just finding ways to change your environment to set yourself up for success, really.
Exactly. And I love how, rather than just telling people you need to do it, you told them how you do it. And that really is a key thing. And I love the ideas about the limiting the email exposure. And too often we don't realize how much of a distraction just those alerts are.
Right.
Shut those alerts off. And I love how you said, if social media is an issue, delete it off your phone. And then there are also apps that you can use, that you can load on your phone, that will limit the amount of time that you spend on certain social media apps. One of the things, I love this one too, and there was a note, and I know I shared with you some of these notes, but one is, don't plug leaky boats.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a great way that they worded that, if you're doing something and it's not working, don't try to repair it. Maybe it's time to switch boats. So whatever the tool is you're using, whatever the system is you're using, or if it's not working, maybe it's time to just totally change things up. Trying to patch a boat that's so, and you folks know that I love boats, and we had a boat that my dad got when I think he bought it when I was 11. It was an old wooden boat, actually older than one that we have now. And it got to the point where that boat was not worth repairing. And as heartbreaking as it was, because we had worked on this for many, many years, I finally had to say to my dad, Dad, it's time to switch boats. Mm-hmm. This boat is not worth putting any more money into. So we did, and we disposed of it, which was not a nice thing to do, but we bought a boat that was substantial that we could work with. And the same thing with our tools, with our skill sets. If something's not working, switch. Find something else. If your accountability partner isn't working that you've chosen for something, maybe you need to pick somebody else. Mm-hmm. Another note that I heard here was really to know your weaknesses. So, and I think that goes into this, if your weakness is social media. So do a self-awareness assessment. What is it that distracts you? And then it goes into, so what is your most powerful time of the day? And we've talked about this in other podcasts. Mine is the morning. So I decided that the activity that I was trying to pursue, I was going to schedule that I'm going to start at 7 in the morning. And it's on my calendar every day from 7 to 7:30. That time is blocked out. And I do that at home before coming into the office. I thought, well, I'll just come into the office and do it. No, you can't do that, because the minute I walk through the door, there's distractions.
Right.
So that really important thing about knowing yourself and knowing your temptations. What is it that you fall prey to? If we're trying to lose weight, don't buy the ice cream. Mm-hmm. Don't buy the chips. Just have fruit sitting around. Of course, you can tell that obviously I don't have fruit sitting around at home. Setting clear goals and having your execution plan. So one of the things that a lot of people do is that they have goals, they've thought through their goals, they have their why statement, but they don't develop the execution plan. And I remember sharing, and maybe we did it on a podcast, I'm not sure. No, I think it was before our podcast when I actually put my vision board up, mm-hmm. where I had the goals. They were very well thought out for last year. All of them, I think the why statements were good that I had developed. There was a piece that was missing in my execution plan. And I realized that as I got toward June, because I wasn't making the progress I wanted to on the items, it was because they weren't visible. And for me, I'm a very visual person, so I needed that visibility of having the vision board sitting right over my phone next to my desk. And that drove me to accomplish them. Create new habits and keep them simple. That was another one of the tips that I found as I was searching for this. And we've talked about those success habits. Mm-hmm. Getting in a routine of doing something that's the right thing every day. And that will, over time, it's kind of like investing. The interest compounds if you take the time to do it. But you got to do it that way. Now, this one is one that we probably need to get your mom on the podcast to help us with. But eat often and eat healthy. Yeah. And that shocked me, because I'm thinking, eat often, eat healthy. What's that got to do with increasing our self-discipline and our ability to accomplish things? Well, we don't have the effects of sugar in our system when our sugar levels drop, and all of a sudden we get sluggish and we get tired. And actually, I have a doctor, one of my doctors that when I was talking with him, he was talking with me about, potentially having me help him with some coaching and things. And so I just talked to him. I said, so how do you manage your energy? And he gets up at 5 a.m. He goes to the gym. He gets back home by, 7, something like that. He said, I eat, I think he said I eat 6 small meals a day. Mm-hmm. And he runs nonstop. This guy has more energy. It's amazing to watch. And he's doing a great balance of work and family. And he said, my day's scheduled in 12-minute blocks based on when he sees patients. Like, wow. But the key for him was the healthy eating. Right.
And it really does impact your brain function, your concentration, and
yes.
Your ability to focus on what you're doing. And I'd add to that. I'd say eat often and healthy. And in an intentional way. So not with your phone, not while you're checking your email, like really take the time to like sit down and only be eating, which is hard to do if you've never really tried that. Like at a table, not at your desk.
Right.
It's very, very, because it's very tempting to just kind of, eat while you're doing emails or, eat while you're working. And when you're doing that, you're not really doing either of those things well.
Exactly.
And you don't give your brain that time. You're not nourishing yourself and nourishing your brain so that you can, spend 10 minutes doing that and then move on to accomplishing the things that you need to do.
Exactly. And the other thing that I think is great, and it fits right into that, is, give yourself this backup plan. If you're trying to eat healthy and you're running from place to place, make sure that you have some healthy snacks, something that you can, keep in your car type of thing, so that you're not driving through the drive-through, grabbing a burger, fries, and a Pepsi, on your way to the next meeting, because that is something that I found happening to me because I'm not planning ahead and I don't have a backup plan. Things just seem to fall through. And so even with other things that you're trying to do, if there's a certain, let's say you're trying to work on having doing reflection time, so, okay, what, have you thought through your reflection time, when you can do it, where you can do it? And what happens if you aren't able to be in that place? Is there another place for you to do to record your reflection thoughts, those kind of things? So that backup plan is really important. And I think one of the keys too is again, getting back to the reality that we're not perfect and forgiving yourself when you make a mistake.
Right.
Because, it's one of those things that even has some biblical reference in it that, you once you get through today, own up to it, forgive yourself, and move on, and work toward getting better the next day. Too many people, as soon as they have a bad day, they go into almost a self-defeating mindset, which quickly becomes a victim mindset, when you just need to say, hey, the plan didn't work, I'm going to tweak it, I'm going to move forward.
Right, and
because I know I still can't achieve
and
it.
how, you mentioned just committing to doing something today and then deciding tomorrow that you're going to do it, instead of committing for, every day I'm going to,
right.
Well, we all know I failed at this. I said I'm going to go walk outside for 10 minutes every day. Well, about a third of the way through my pregnancy, that really just wasn't working out for me. And, now I've kind of changed my goal. So it made it more realistic and more achievable. Instead of saying I'm going to do this every day, it's more a day by day thing for me. And it's not it easily could have been something that I had just given up on and not forgiven myself and not tried again. Now I have a little, I realized my goal was a little unrealistic. The goal really should be to get outside when I have the opportunity to and when the weather allows it. Obviously, when it's icy and in the below zero temperatures, it wasn't safe for me to be outside. So I had to say, today is not one of those days, and just move on and have that backup plan and know that it was okay. Instead of, especially we see this around New Year's, right? With New Year's resolutions. And it's like, I'm going to do this. And the second you have a lapse or something happens and it doesn't go as planned, we give up. It is our natural tendency to just give up at that point. And like you said, it's kind of self-defeating and just say, well, try again next year. Well, any day, there's nothing magical about January 1st. There's nothing special about it. Any day can be day one. It can be tomorrow. It doesn't really matter. We started our podcast. It was one of your goals for 2017. We didn't start it January 1st. 2017, we started in June. Yeah. Yep.
Because that was the time when things came together and we could do it.
Right. We had our plan, our execution plan. And
right. And then all of a sudden we realized I was going to be gone for a week. What do we do? Well, we came up with a plan to do it while I was gone.
Right.
And we've maintained it every single week since. And we know that, we've got a challenge coming up, when you go off on maternity, but we're going to meet and we're going to come up with a plan for that as well. And so I think the key thing there is also we started.
Mm-hmm.
If we would have waited till we had all the what if scenarios worked out, we never would have started. So you just start and things will happen. It was interesting when you were talking about taking a walk, that one of the ways to boost our productivity is to take a 5-minute walk.
Yes.
And, part of being self-disciplined is being able to get done the things you need to get done. And one of the studies that I found said that we can boost our productivity by 20% by taking a 5-minute walk. Now, you can't do it every 10 minutes, but, if once an hour you took a 5-minute walk, you could dramatically improve your productivity. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're stuck in a cubicle somewhere or stuck in an office, you need to get out. You need to get some air.
Especially, now that we're having nicer weather, if you can get out in the sunshine, I mean, the benefits of, vitamin D and just the fresh air and seeing the sun, all of that, I think could really help boost your productivity, especially this time of year.
Absolutely. Just looking through my list of other tips that I had here. Treat yourself, reward yourself for accomplishing something. Mm-hmm. If let's say this is a task that you feel you need to do every day, and then there's something that you enjoy, plug the something that you enjoy in after you completed the task, so that even if it's a lousy task, you have something to look forward to as you're working through it. Break down large projects into small bites. So, you build a wall one brick at a time. You build a house 1 2x4 at a time. It doesn't all come together. And so just look at what is the one thing that I need to accomplish today that's going to move this goal forward. And another one that I found interesting was start a done list. Mm-hmm. Now, I have to confess that I've always been a list maker, and there were times when I would write in my planner something I already did so I could check it off. And we know that if we read Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last, he'll talk about, the chemicals in our brain, the serotonin, the endorphins, and things like that get released, the oxytocin and things, when we do things. So by building this list of things we've accomplished, we build momentum, mm-hmm. which, John Maxwell says that the law of Big Mo, law number 16 of the 21 Irrefutable Laws, that's the law that says that the more momentum you have, the easier it is to get things done. So if you look at these things you're writing down that you get done, you have all this energy to accomplish that one task that might still be there that's holding you back. Another note that I had here was to streamline your emails. And I thought this was interesting as I looked into that. Again, we're trying to figure out how do we get more time to do the things we need to and be more self-disciplined. Well, when you write an email, how involved is the email you're writing? Are you writing a journal? Are you writing, an essay, or are you just putting bullet points down? Because an email is not supposed to be a phone conversation. It should just be the details that we need to convey, and it speeds up the life of the reader as well. So just focus on writing some bullet points. Make sure you convey the whole message, but break it into something that's just short, direct, and to the point. Mm-hmm. What else did I forget here? Because
covered a lot.
We do need to apologize to our listeners because we had a bit of a crisis when we started. Because all of a sudden I got into my office because I'm not recording at home like I typically do, and the earphones for my phone, because you and I talk on the phone, but we record on separate laptops. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have my earphones in. We all seem to forget in the moment that you can actually hold a phone to your ear. Which is what I did, which means I have one hand, which means as I turn my head, things might get soft and loud. But get enough sleep. That's the one I wanted. You got to sleep enough.
Yes.
You will not be able to be self-disciplined if you are exhausted, because your body simply can't do it. Your brain won't function. Your mm-hmm. brain needs rest. And I listened to a podcast about a year ago from a woman, Chalene Johnson is her name, and she talked about the fact that she used to pride herself in the fact that she could work well into the night and get up early. She was living on like 3 to 4 hours of sleep. Then she noticed she was forgetting things, and she went to a doctor, and the doctor basically said, you're destroying your brain. Yeah. Because your brain needs those resting hours to rejuvenate itself. Mm-hmm. And they can actually do a brain scan and show you They can show you the damage that's occurring in your brain because of a lack of sleep.
Yeah, I'm very into sleep, and this is a good place to practice your self-discipline. If you know that you're not getting enough sleep, start there. Start there.
Just go to bed on time. Mm-hmm. And people will say, "But I don't have time." Well, my doctor friend, he goes to bed at 9:15. Mm-hmm. And he gets up, I think, at 5 or 5:15. He has 3 or 4 kids. He's got a medical practice to run. He helps his kids with their scouting. He works with them with their homework, but he's just very disciplined. And that allows him to accomplish things. And, so when you go to bed, don't take your iPhone, don't take your iPad, don't turn the TV on. Just begin to wind down. Find a way to relax yourself so that, when it's time to fall asleep, your brain is in a position to fall asleep. Mm-hmm. And too often, the electronic devices that we use, just the screens stimulate our brains.
The blue light too, right? The blue light.
Yes, it's the blue light, and I know Apple's working where they have their dimmer settings for night, that type of thing. But I can't stress enough. You've got to get enough rest, or there's no way you will be able to be self-disciplined.
Right.
Wow, we covered a lot.
We did. Wow.
And I'm hopeful that our listeners will find value in it. And as we always do, we really want to encourage them to send in things you'd like us to talk about. If you can subscribe, please subscribe and give us a review. That's helpful, especially as we get close to our 1-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. So, and you're going to ask me what we're going to talk about next week. I don't know.
That's okay.
Something will come.
Maybe you'll feel inspired over the long weekend.
I sure hope so. Anything special that you're doing?
Nope, nothing special. How about you?
No, nothing. Unfortunately, because I wasn't disciplined enough, I'm going to have to do some material prep over the weekend. But that's my own fault. And I refuse to be as stupid going forward as I have been in the past. So I will get my rest and be more self-disciplined.
Good.
So with that, I'm Dave Freund.
I'm Marisa Norcross.
And this was The Next Page.